long-term recording contract. After midnight on November 19th, Davis wrapped up a performance at the Frontier. 28-year-old Sammy climbed into his new Cadillac convertible to drive to Los Angeles, where he had a recording commitment. As dawn came up over the double-lane highway, a car passed Davis, wove over both lanes, and then suddenly and inexplicably stopped. Davis was forced to veer and crashed into an oncoming vehicle.
He woke up in the hospital and found that he didn't have an eye. In those days, the steering wheel of the Cadillac had a cone. It's amazing that they designed it that way, but it had a cone that came up and in the center, and he hit his eye on that.
The attending physician told Sammy that his only option was a prosthetic eye made of plastic.
He was panicking. What's a one-eyed singer, dancer going to do on a stage? He'd lost all sense of balance, all sense of depth in terms of looking at things. You couldn't, with one eye, you don't have the same depth perception that you have with two. And he was terribly frightened.
A car accident, I did not know that. I always thought maybe he was either born with bad vision, had opacification, or keratoconus. I did not know it was a car accident.
Davis was in deep despair when the hospital rabbi paid a visit. In their discussion of Judaism, Sammy found a glimmer of hope. Son, Mark Davis.
His struggle was similar, so I think he can relate to what the Jews went through.
He wondered, what did they know that made them survive all this hatred, all this anger toward them, which he had felt.
Inspired, Davis began a serious study of Judaism.
He'd had no education, he couldn't spell, but he read everything.
A few weeks after leaving the hospital, Sammy decided to return to performing.
Sammy had the instinct, I should go back where it really happened for me, which is Ciro's in Hollywood.
But with his sense of balance gone, Sammy had to learn how to move all over again.
He never rehearsed. For this, he took a rehearsal hall by himself, just didn't tell anybody. He just rented a room, rehearsal room, got a record player and tried to dance. And boy, he had trouble. It was hard. But
Wait a minute. So make sure I'm hearing this correctly. If you lose an eye, it throws your balance off? I didn't know that. I learn something new every day.
But he just forced himself to go on and on doing it until finally he was able to do it again.
On January 11th, 1955, 29-year-old Davis made his comeback at Ciro's. Friend Amy Green Andrews was present that night.
Bogart, Bacall, Rock Hudson, I mean, everybody was there.
You couldn't get near the club. I mean, there was Clark Gable and Cary Grant and Gary Cooper and Marilyn Monroe. These people were just waiting to get in.
People went to see what this man could do with one eye.
He had an eye patch on, and he didn't know whether he could dance again. He didn't know what would happen. And he was genuinely nervous that night.
Davis turned misfortune into comedy.
He was walking around the stage doing Jerry Lewis, and he bumped into the microphone, and he hit it with his eye, with his, hit it right here, and the audience just went silent. And Sammy said, "Oh, sorry, Frank, didn't see you come in," referring to Skinny Frank, and it broke up the house.
On stage, Sammy's fears melted away.
He was leaping around the stage, he was singing, he was dancing, he never stopped. The show must have been 3 hours long. He pulled every trick out of every hat that he had ever learned all of his life. When he finished, everybody stood up. Tears were streaming down our eyes. That was the moment when he became a star.
But stardom didn't necessarily guarantee star treatment, as Davis discovered when he decided to make Los Angeles his permanent home.
He wanted to buy a house in an upscale neighborhood, and real estate agents at that point were not about to sell a house to any black man.
To get around the discrimination, Davis made his purchase by proxy.
There was a house up in the Hollywood Hills that had been owned by Judy Garland, and so Sammy and I went up to see the house. And we bought the house in my name. And then once the house was bought in my name, we transferred it to Sammy.
But Davis couldn't win. The African-American press accused the entertainer of wanting to live white. Friend Shirley Rhodes.
The black press just weren't fair to him. I thought it was very unfair what they said about him and what they did. If you make enough money to live wherever, That's where you want to live.
My lifestyle was a lifestyle that was enviable, but also with a lot of people, they just couldn't see, geez, well, what is he doing? And particularly, again, with my own.
Privately, the criticism ate at Sammy's soul. Davis finally sought out counseling from a rabbi. Sammy confided he wanted to become a Jew.
And the rabbi said to him, look, it's not having a piece of paper. It's a matter of believing in the things that you're reading about. And I recognize that you've read a great deal. Read more and follow the life that you feel is the life towards God as you see God wants you to be. Eventually, Sammy showed his sincerity in it, and he was formally converted to Judaism. And he was a devout Jew all of his life.
The crazy part is they have no problem giving their money to him to go and see him entertain, laugh, and enjoy life. But the moment he wants to live near them or live better than them, that's when they have a problem. And the crazy part about it is, if he hadn't attempted to move in that neighborhood, who's to say that he still wasn't living better than them?
Coming up,
I'd like to thank the NAACP for this wonderful trophy.
They would do all the jokes to me, and I love being the butt of the jokes.
and later,
He was in a hospital bed, and at that point he must have weighed 80 pounds.
Sammy Davis Jr.'s talent was so overwhelming that it seemed to transcend race. But as 30-year-old Davis would soon find out, performing for white people and dating one were two different things. In 1956, renowned composer Julie Stein approached Sammy with an idea for a Broadway show. Friend Amy Green Andrews.
Julie Stein was trying for years to get Sammy on Broadway. This was a thing with Julie Stein. And he finally did it. And the only way he could raise money was if Sammy did his nightclub act in the second half of the show.
Stein developed a musical called Mr. Wonderful about a young entertainer's struggle to succeed. Davis insisted on an interracial cast. Sammy also committed to a year-long contract, which meant foregoing the $10,000 to $25,000 a week he commanded for nightclub engagements. Davis biographer Bert Boyer was a Broadway columnist at the time.
It was a tremendous financial sacrifice, but Sammy did it because he felt that he had to have more, he needed more dimension in his career. He couldn't just keep playing nightclubs.
Mr. Wonderful opened on March 22, 1956. The critics didn't think the show was so wonderful.
It had terrible reviews, the worst possible review. But they all categorically said that the great part of the show, however, is the last 25 or 30 minutes when Sammy Davis Jr. does his nightclub act.
I wonder will YouTube allow me to post it on my channel, Mr. Wonderful. Tell me in the comments if you've seen it before, or would you like for me to try to find it?
Which is how they climaxed the show.
Despite the reviews, Mr. Wonderful was a bona fide hit. But Broadway star or not, Sammy was still black. Boyer remembers the time Davis wanted to go to the swank nightclub El Morocco.
I spoke to the maitre d', and I said, I'm bringing Sammy Davis Jr. And there was kind of a silence. And he said, well, and he started mumbling, bub, 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 bub. And he said, well, he's very dark, isn't he? I said, what? He said, well, wait a minute, just a second. He said, well, look, if you come, he won't be welcome. He won't be very well treated.
It wasn't just me going through it. The sad thing about it is that that was our society at that point in time, you know. And so everybody, with the darker skin, went through it.
For Sammy, the only truly safe place was on stage. Friend James Cutzillibus Davis.
The fact is, off stage, he was rather awkward and a little bit afraid. On stage, he knew he had power. He knew that when he was up there, he was ruling the world.
At that point in time, for me, it was the formulating period. That's when I said, I'll use my talent and I'll hone it and I'll try to use it. So, boy, I'll get even, And the only way I knew how to get even was not go on a tower with an automatic rifle, but you get even with your talent.
Maybe Davis couldn't go to El Morocco, but he could still spend money.
He had Cy Martin, who was a Broadway tailor at that time, make up some suits for him. He ordered 10 suits. And as soon as he had them, he took out everything else he owned, put it in the center of the living room, and said, give it away. Let people have it who want it. I'm not wearing that anymore.
Actress and friend Diane Carroll.
I find that's part of his blackness. The lie about our being lesser people and lesser this and lesser that. And that contributes to the millions that we spend on cosmetics and clothing and beautiful cars and whatever. And Sammy was a victim of that.
Mr.
I've heard many people ask, how come you just can't leave it in the past? How come you just can't forget about it? I'm going to answer the question right now today. So if you ever hear someone say, why can't they ever forget? You can give them my answer. How can you get a chance to forget something that's constantly thrown in your face day in and day out? You heard them say loud and clear to Sammy Davis Jr. It will constantly be thrown in his face over and over again. So how could he forget? He never had the opportunity to. Tell me your thoughts about this video. Be sure to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.